If you're in my same age range / demographic, meaning that you are in your mid to late 20s and you had access to a Tumblr account at one point in time, there's a chance that IRL shipping culture was a part of your adolescence. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I have been getting a lot of Larry Stylinson shipping retrospective content on my TikTok For You page. And given the fact that One Direction has been in the forefront of people's minds recently, that makes a lot of sense. But this kind of nostalgic, retrospective content from the Tumblr and Wattpad era is pretty cyclical. For example, my For You page was full of various takes about the YouTubers Dan and Phil, who had a similar speculative nature to their relationship that people went absolutely batshit insane over dissecting in like 2013, 2014. But above all else, there has always been one of these Tumblr ship conspiracies that has never left my mind, and that is the conspiracy surrounding My Chemical Romance band member Mikey and Fall Out Boy member Pete Wentz. Okay, so here's how this video is going to work. Basically, I'm going to give an abbreviated history of the PeteKey or Pete Wentz, Mikey Way ship lore, and the reason why I'm saying abbreviated is because people have been documenting this ship for the better part of a decade and a half at this point, and so there's a lot of information. There are master docs and Reddit threads and Tumblr blogs and all kinds of stuff, and if I went through and deciphered every single blog post that Pete Wentz has made in the last 15 years, we would be here all day, right? So I am condensing down for that purpose. However, I did use a lot of work of archivists who have been documenting this stuff pretty much since 2003, and a lot of the links that I have used that are more comprehensive and very in-depth will be linked in the description down below. The second thing we're going to do is talk about IRL shipping culture and why, in a weird way, it has become like a source of nostalgia for a lot of people, the gray area in which IRL shipping culture exists, especially within queer relationships. So we're gonna get into all that. So if you're watching this video, chances are you probably know who My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy are. They're considered some of the heaviest hitters in the pop-punk emo adjacent phase that was pretty popular around this time. And so according to archives, the legend of Pete Wentz and Mikey Way starts back somewhere around 2003, 2004, where the bands were regularly seen hanging out with each other at different events that they played. Which makes sense, same genre, a lot of crossover in fan bases. It's logical that they would cross paths around this time. Notable events around this time include Mikey Way being spotted wearing a white denim jacket that is believed to belong to Pete Wentz. And both bands would often be seen watching each other play. After a festival in 2005, Pete Wentz, on his live journal, updated a list of what got him, quote, hot and bothered to include having a crush on a person he speaks to nearly daily and white denim jackets. Fast forward to the main event that people talk about when they discuss the relationship between Mikey Way and Pete Wentz, Warped Tour 2005, also known as the Summer of Like, which was believed to be the working title of Fall Out Boy's song Bang The Doldrums. During this time, Pete Wentz made a series of blog posts in his typical cryptic yet hopelessly romantic Pete Wentz fashion. Amazing New Mexico sunset. I'm hanging on a bridge with my friend Mikey Way from my chem. It's all orange and pink above us. We went to another water park again. I love high fives again. Totally back in love. Saw the most amazing movie. I think it's called Spirited Away. Watch it. Peter Pan. Wrote you a goodbye note. You just wrote me off on your arm when you passed out. Best friends, ex-friends, better off as lovers, not the other way around. Racing through the city in the back of yellow checkered cars. The takeoffs are the worst, but the skin from your shoulder to your ear makes it all worth it. And I'm sorry the way my moods flicker on and off like old light on your porch, but I know you wouldn't have it any other way. Sneaking into your window instead of out. The way you hold a cigarette, 'cause you don't know what to do with your hands when we are sitting this close. The way the waists of pants feel better at the ankles. The way the waist of pants feel better at the ankles. The way you were always my best excuse for calling in sick on everyone else. I miss you, Petey. It's worth noting here that a lot of the lines in these posts actually ended up in the song Bang the Doldrums, and it's speculated that the word lipstick was added to one of these lyrics in particular to make it seem like the singer was singing about a girl. There were also rumors that the two of them would be seen walking around the various Warped Tour lots at the time that the tour was going on, but would request not to be photographed together. Unclear if this is true, this could be just speculation, but multiple people who attended Warped Tour in 2005 around this time have said this. After Warped Tour ended, Pete and Mikey were then spotted again in February of 2006 at a party together, and Pete Wentz made this entry into a blog saying, "I feel like Howl from Howl's Moving Castle embodies every single feeling that goes through my head. That is all. I am in the lobby of a hotel in New York City waiting for something that isn't ever going to happen. I'm calculating all of the legs and drunken stutters. I am precise, I am a machine, I am a hot mess, Petey." Now, a lot of the information that I've shared up until this point has been a compilation of like wistful and yearning live journal posts from Pete Wentz, everyone's favorite hopeless romantic, right? And, you know, you could argue that those blog posts could potentially be about anybody, and I think that's still a fair assessment to this day. However, one of the most, like, you can't write it fanficky type moments that emerged from the PeteKey ship lore was the HeyChris situation. And at the very least, that was a drama that I'm going to unpack for you now that proved that at the very least, Mikey Way could hypothetically be used as a bargaining chip to piss Pete Wentz off. In 2006, HeyChris, a longtime friend of Fall Out Boy and Pete Wentz especially, made a live journal post in which he called out Pete Wentz for what he perceived to be inappropriate behavior with his girlfriend. Pete wrote a lengthy response basically denying this behavior and also defending the relationship that Fall Out Boy has with its fans. And then HeyChris responded by saying, "Hetero life mates, I won't lie, I hate being this dude. I wish it wouldn't have come to this, but goddamn, he's right. No one knows how to break a heart like he does," and then proceeded to post a bunch of photos of himself and Mikey Way. It's believed that HeyChris posted these photos specifically to make Pete jealous. It's reported that Pete was really mad about this, although no one ever screenshotted anything that he said or wrote about the situation. However, the last thing that Pete Wentz posted about it on Instant Messenger was "fuck everything, and by everything I mean everyone." Fast forward to July of 2006, where Pete makes another blog post entitled "The Fraternal Order of the Handsome Boy." This is a reference to one of two quote-unquote gangs that Mikey and Pete used to affiliate themselves with back in the day, the other one being the Sweet Little Dudes, which is a group that Pete and Mikey used to reference themselves in pretty frequently, of them like being the only members of it, and Pete made a shirt that he used to wear a lot. "I've been watching you from afar, my breath on the inside window as you walk in from the car candy cane lines in red and white against clashing patterns bending in and out of understanding. You're the stranger I've been dreaming of. Stranger than any I've ever known. Love through a telescopic lens. When there is clear, I can see how perfect you are for me. Late at night when the city sleeps, I cast a spell on you to make you think of me the very same way I think of you. I only love how the words feel in my head when I write them. Fireworks over the valley. How can I tell you I gut people for a living? Then every day you say is likely to end up as evidence when I rewrite history over and over again. How everything you do reminds me of something else, someone else. How I get paid to be humble and arrogant at the same time, to be chased and never caught. That I just want to stay up late and wake up early to talk to you. That I want to show you all of my jealousy and insecurity and have you not care. You're like a light switch, and I just want to turn you on and watch them all shrink away. The words come out of my fingertips on impulse. It is instinct. My head can't keep up. I envy the comatose. I admire the bedridden. I am addicted to the way I feel when I think of you. I'm blowing smoke rings around the moon. I wish I was the exact opposite of how the world knows me." Two important factors of note here. One, Pete Wentz should get a Pulitzer Prize, and two, this is the origin of the line, "I'd cast a spell over the West to make you think of me the same way I think of you," which again is present in the song Bang The Doldrums, which many believe is of course about Mikey Way. Put a pin in Bang The Doldrums for a second, we'll come back to it in a little bit, but there is also another song that many people speculate to be about Mikey Way. Many speculate that the song is also about Mikey because it contains a lot of references to Pete's previous Warped Tour posts, specifically Pete's Hot and Miserable and Totally in Love post, which was made on the 4th of July. This song contains a lot of heart-wrenching lyrics about a relationship that is implied to, no longer exist, including the line, "I'm sorry, every song's about you." Fast forward to another festival in 2016 where Mikey Way was performing with the band Waterparks and Fall Out Boy happened to be there. And before performing the song 4th of July on stage, Pete Wentz took the mic.
"We would be remiss if we didn't take this moment to say that this is a fucking dream for us, and thank you for letting us have this dream." So in some ways, to quote this song, I'm sorry. Every single song is about you.
So this was a big moment in like Fall Out Boy fandom lore and specifically PeteKey shipper lore, but an even bigger one that I want to talk about is July of last year. Remember when I said we were going to put a pin in Bang The Doldrums and come back to it, because Bang The Doldrums is definitively like the Mikey Way song. Everybody is convinced that it's about Mikey Way, whether it is or not. That's like the general perception, and I'm sure everybody in Fall Out Boy knows that, right? So up until the summer of last year, Fall Out Boy had never played Bang The Doldrums live, ever. There's a number of songs that they have not played at a live show, and that was one of them. And during this show, which I believe took place 1 or 2 days after another show they did where they actually pulled Mikey Way up on stage to play the song Saturday with them, they finally decided that after all these years, they were going to play Bang The Doldrums live. It's also worth noting here that Pete Wentz and Fall Out Boy pulled a similar stunt at the second annual When We Were Young Fest in, I believe, Vegas a couple weeks ago, where Mikey Way also happened to be in attendance, and they decided to play this song. The point here being that it seems like a lot of this is deliberate, right? How could it not be? At the very least, Pete Wentz seems to be leaning into the lore. And if you're wondering, wow, we've never heard really about Mikey's side of all of this, yeah, you're right, we haven't. He tends to be a more private person, it seems like, whereas Pete seems to be a person who wears everything on his sleeve. Now, I didn't make this video today with the expressed purpose of trying to convince you that the PeteKey ship is real. In fact, a lot of members of the Fall Out Boy fandom don't believe it's real. They think that all of these journal entries were actually Pete writing about a woman that he dated at the time, and that the fans trying to piece all of this together are weird and creepy and routinely violating boundaries. And I go back and forth on this because objectively there is something compelling about these kind of celebrity speculated romances, especially if it's a queer relationship. There's an inherent element of mystery, of society can't know about this, and that of course leads to a degree of parasociality where these fans are decoding things and filling the blanks where they believe that their favorite musician or whatever is leaving some kind of secret message that they're in a gay relationship and they can't tell anybody. This is part of what I think makes the Gaylor movement so alluring to people, but that is a story for another day. And of course we have to mention scenarios where fans have objectively taken things way too far, like in the Larry Stylinson situation, where the Larry fandom was so desperate to prove that the relationship was real, that there's no doubt in my mind that it probably subconsciously put a strain on Harry and Louis' relationship, whether it was a real relationship or just a friendship. There's also the question of like, is it okay to publicly speculate on available moments and information as long as you're not like directly asking the person involved about it or trying to make them uncomfortable like in their DMs and stuff by trying to get answers out of them. But other people might argue that this actually just comes with the territory of being a celebrity and it's on them to not seek this kind of speculative content out. And then this gets even more complicated with somebody like Pete Wentz, who seemingly likes to lean into the PeteKey mystique a little bit. But from all of the stuff that I've read, Mikey clearly doesn't. And then to me, one of the most interesting aspects of this IRL shipping culture is the fact that, like I said, it's pretty cyclical. This is something that fans of bands and YouTubers like to revisit every now and again, because it acts as an element of childhood nostalgia in the same way that an old show or album would. And no matter how, enthralled you might be in a good story like PeteKey or Dan and Phil or Larry Stylinson, I think it's still important to consider the humanity of the folks on the other end of that narrative. Do I believe that PeteKey is real? Maybe. Would I lose my mind if I was at a Fall Out Boy concert and they played Bang The Doldrums? Abso-fucking-lutely. Am I going to incessantly DM Mikey Way and his wife about it? No. And to me, walking that line is pretty easy. But the internet never ceases to amaze me with just how parasocial and weird they can truly get. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I know this video was a little bit different for me, but I don't know. I had a fun time telling this story about like a fandom culture niche, and I think that is something that I want to explore in future videos. So if you have any ideas for like a fandom culture video or a shipping culture video, let me know in the comments down below. While I have your attention today, you can of course follow me. All of the links in this link tree, which can be found here and in the description down below. And I also want to talk specifically about my Patreon. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but I do weekly bonus exclusive content there, including a lot more Drag Race content, which I don't do on my main channel these days, but I just put up a video about Global All-Stars if you want to subscribe to my Patreon for that. The other thing I want to promote before I leave is my boyfriend Brian's channel. He is currently chronicling the World Series antics because the Yankees are playing the Dodgers in the World Series currently, so if there is any potential crossover for our audiences, definitely go check his channel out. His link is in the description down below as well. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.